This tutorial explains the basic concept of flexible layouts and responsive design. If you're already familiar and wish to skip to the actual app building process in Aptivate, please skip to minute 4 of this video. Responsive layouts are those that change the size and position of various UI elements proportional to the screen size. As you know, your app will need to work with a wide variety of screen sizes. The main idea behind flexible layout is literally that. It gives a parent container the flexibility to alter its children's size and position to effectively utilize the available real estate. Now let's tour the main concepts behind flexible layouts. Flex models are based on parent-child relationships. A flex container, or parent, expands the size of its children to fill up its available space, or shrinks them to prevent overflow. A flex container must specify a flex direction property, which defines the direction of the children placed inside the flex container. The children can be laid out in horizontal rows or vertical columns. The main axis of a flex container is the axis along which the flex children are laid out. The picture here shows the main axis for a parent that has flex direction as row. The axis perpendicular to the main axis is the cross axis. Once you decide the direction, the next task is to decide how to distribute free space among the children. Free space is what is left over after all the children have taken up as much space as they should. That property is called justify content. Let me show you a couple examples. Flex start for justify content packs the children towards the start line and the free space at the end. Flex end does the reverse, packs the children towards the end line and free space at the start. Justify content center places all the children along a centered line and the free space is distributed evenly at the two ends. The third decision is to figure out how to align the children in the cross axis. Here is an example. Align items center lines the children such that a center line passes through the center of all the children. Last but not the least, we want to introduce the concept of flex grow, which is the property set for the child item. It defines the ability for a child to grow if necessary. It accepts a unitless value which serves as a proportion of leftover space that should be given to that child compared to the other children that also have the flex grow property set. Let's take these concepts now and use them to build our calculator app. The layout selected for the calculator app screen is a column layout with just 2 items. The top item is the textual calculation area and the bottom item is the buttons area. The buttons area is always fixed size, so we will set the extra area to grow and take up the rest of the screen. Just like in CSS, Aptivate also provides the capability to define display classes, which allows you to reuse display properties across components. To add or modify display classes, simply go to the library and select the type of component you want to use. For the calculator app, we're going to set up a display class for containers to center the items within. Let's set the justify content and the align items properties to center. We have already created a number of display classes for different component types that we will be using during this tutorial. As we insert the first container for the text area on the substrate surface, we select the grow1 display class, which sets it up to be a FlexGrow container. Now we add the second buttons area container below. We can think of the buttons area container to be 5 rows of 4 buttons each. Let's go ahead and insert the first row. Inside this row will be 4 containers, 1 for each button. These containers all have the FlexGrow on display class so that they can be equally spaced out. Now we will insert a button in the button container and choose its display class, which sets its border radius to make it a rounded button. Let's go ahead and set a centered class on this button and then insert a text component for the number text. Now we can use the copy-paste shortcuts on the keyboard to make 4 copies of this button in the row container. Then we make 5 copies of this row in the buttons area. We are now ready to go ahead and change the text on all the buttons. Notice that the last row has only 3 buttons, and we want to make the 0 button double its size. So let's change the button container to be 50% the weight of the container. We will also set it to be a row, and the 0 button inside it is set to FlexGrow 1. We don't like the divide and multiplication characters from the keyboard, so let's look at other options for those. We will delete the text element from the multiplication button and add an icon symbol instead. I think we found the closest icon to match. It looks good, so let's go ahead and choose that icon. However, we did not find a good icon for division operation. Luckily, we have an image file for that. So let's go back into the library and import that image into our assets folder. Now we insert an image component in the button and use it as an asset. Let's use the asset we just added. Now we will add the text component to the text area. We want to align this text to the bottom right of the text container. So let's go ahead and set that text area container with justify and align properties to flex end. And there we have it, folks. Our calculator app layout is ready for use.